I think some fundamentals have not changed. If you look at the importance of getting strong technically in the area that you're working on, the importance of understanding a business from a holistic perspective, the importance of people handling, of learning your own strengths and weaknesses as an individual. All of those, I think, are almost like universal requirements that have remained important even today. But I think what has changed dramatically has been the pace of change. During the time that we were studying, you could take your MBA knowledge for whatever you had learned, get into a job, learn a few things in the first few years, and that would make you sail through life. You really did not need to upgrade your skills regularly. But if you look at the world today, you yourself have seen how quickly it is changing. Every few years, the entire industry changes. I'm sure you guys only remember a time when it was almost impossible to do any streaming of video, right? Not too long ago. Today, the poorest of poor people are watching movies on their mobiles using, broadband or using 4G streaming. So that is one huge change that's happening, right? If you look at companies like Uber, Ola, Oyo, even Amazon. I mean, a lot of industries have come up only because the smartphone was invented. So 2007 is when Apple launched the iPhone. And there are so many industries that exist today that did not exist before the smartphones were invented. So from Airbnb to Uber to, look at a number of industries, which are all dependent on using the app, that app network on your phone and using broadband. So many industries have come up. And these changes are happening much, much more rapidly. Look at what has happened in the last 1 year during COVID. Okay, so many industries have, let's forget every other industry. Let's look at education. The way you learn has changed so dramatically in the last 1 year. You now, most of the time, I'm sure in your colleges, very few colleges have actually started classes, right? Does it mean you should lose 1 year? Does it mean you should not learn? Obviously not. So you see how colleges have adapted. You see how you yourself have adapted. You see how your teachers have adapted. So that we still deliver, good knowledge. We still are able to teach you and train you, despite not having the advantage of sitting in front of you, right? You can sit at home and learn about what is happening in the other part of the world. You can get certifications from probably an MIT or a Stanford sitting at home. These are huge changes. None of this was available in the 90s when I did my MBA. So I think, coming back to the original question, there are certain key things that are important, that are evergreen, but the ability to learn, the ability to even unlearn and learn new things, the capacity to be adaptable, to change as the world is changing. Are you able to change? These are, I think, things that have become different from the time I did my MBA. So, yeah.
Totally agreed, sir. So, sir, as we know that Pinnacle MBA, which is being designed by the JK Lakshipat University, it actually makes everyone question that why it's called Pinnacle and how it is different from the other MBAs. So, I would like the participants to know why, how the Pinnacle MBA has been designed.
Sure. Before I do that, I see a few questions coming up in the chat. So what we will do is, instead of interrupting the flow of the talk, we'll cover a few of the topics and then we'll come to your questions and try to address them to the best of our ability. We may or may not be able to answer all your questions, but we'll try. Yeah. Okay. So coming to the Pinnacle MBA, one is, why is it called Pinnacle? Okay, it's a branding. It's basically a branding. So JK Lakshipat University had an MBA program earlier too. What happened was the university decided to dramatically change the program and upgrade the program. So to show that this is a new, improved MBA program, it was branded as a Pinnacle MBA. Now, what is the logic behind this new program? So if you look at the founders behind this MBA program, Pinnacle MBA, you will see people like Pramath-Raj Sinha, who's he was the founding dean of the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. He is one of the founders of Ashoka University, a very big name in the education sector in India. You have Ashish Gupta, again, ex-McKinsey, uh, IIM Calcutta, so IIT Kanpur, etc. So very, very well qualified and expert people. They decided to launch this program. And one of the key things in launching this program was to learn, because Ashish, for example, he is an MBA from IIM Calcutta. He was my batchmate there. So when we were talking about this MBA program, when we were starting to redesign it, we said, okay, what did we do during our MBA? And what did we think was not good about it? Okay, what did we learn? What did we not learn? What are the various things that we have done which we feel are useless? We have never used in our careers over the last 20 years. Okay, I'm sure if you look at your own graduation, there'll be so many things that, frankly speaking, once you come out of college, you never use in your life. So we wanted to get rid of such things. We wanted to have an MBA program where as soon as you pass out, you're ready for the job. A lot of the MBA programs, even in the top IIMs, tend to be extremely theoretical. So you learn a lot of theory, but day one in your job, when you're standing in office, you have no clue what to do. Because what really happens in work life is never taught there. So we said we need to make it much more industry focused, much more practical, so that the graduates who come out of this MBA program, they are ready to start working from day one. They understand what is needed in an organization, and they've been trained to handle it. Okay, so that was one big driver, saying, can we make it practical? In order to do so, if you look at the faculty in the Pinnacle MBA program, the vast majority of the faculty are people from the industry. So yes, we do have academics, we do have lifelong academics who are professors, but we also have a lot of people. A lot of the courses are taught by people who are actually doing that in their day-to-day lives. They're not reading out from a textbook and telling you theory. They're talking about how in their own careers they've been using those same principles, and they're teaching you that in your class. Okay, so getting the industry into the classroom in a way was another key part of the Pinnacle MBA program. Third point, I mentioned in the beginning about soft skills, correct? You know, in most MBA programs, even in the top IIMs, I know this because I've been through it. If you're good, see, the point is, in a lot of these programs, the people who get selected based on their scores are good people. And therefore, they do well, they come out also as good people. But I don't see most of the IIMs investing in taking a person who may not be the best person in terms of, for example, communication skill, and actually investing energy and effort in that person to sort of transform that person. Okay, so what happens is you depend on good quality people coming in, and therefore they do well. Now, one big difference in Pinnacle is that we have a center for critical thinking and communication, which has been set up specially. Now, that is a huge investment from the university in all the students. So people who come in, you may or may not be fluent in English. You may or may not, be very good at analyzing situations. It really doesn't matter. We believe that if you have got into the university, you're good. And if you're good, you can learn and you can be trained to deliver. So this CCCT, as we call it in short, it individually mentors each and every student and trains them on how do you analyze situation, what is happening outside, how can you look at it critically, are you just using your opinion, or are you analyzing the pros and cons of the situation, are you looking at it in a very structured manner? Okay, so critical thinking. Then how do you communicate? So let me give you an example. One of the first batch Pinnacle MBA graduates, when he came in, he's an extremely smart guy, but his English was terrible. Okay, so when he came in, he was scared to stand in front of the class and even speak. Which within a year, thanks to the training given by the CCCT, he was so confident that today he has his own startup. You may know that we have an Atal incubation center inside the campus. So his startup is being incubated by the AIC, the Atal Incubation Center. And you know what the startup does? It works with the government of Rajasthan. It goes to schools and it teaches communication and critical thinking skills to school students. So this boy who was scared to stand up in front of the class and talk is today going to schools, delivering lectures to principals and teachers and hundreds of students and teaching them how to become better speakers, how to think critically. That is the sort of transformation that is possible if enough energy is invested in you. And that is what I think is done by the Pinnacle MBA program, that I'm not aware of any other program which is doing something like this. And the last point I'd like to add, which is very much in tune with today's times. A lot of you, I don't know, I don't know you guys personally, but when I have taught my students in different institutes or I've interviewed people, compared to my generation, a lot of people today are thinking of starting their own businesses. You've seen Flipkart, you've seen Oyo, Ola, you've seen so many startups doing so well that compared to earlier times, a lot of people wanted a government job, safe job, secure job, get a pension. I think your generation today is much, much more adventurous, much more brave. And a lot of people from your generation want to do something of their own. So in the Pinnacle MBA program, we have something called the Startup Studio. Okay, so starting, the MBA is of 6 terms over 2 years. Starting from term 1 all the way up to term 6, you will learn how to launch your own product. So in term 1, you will come up with ideas for a product or a service or a business that you want to launch. And in each term, you'll go very systematically through each stage of the product launch. By the time you come to the 5th term, your product is practically ready for launch. And then what happens in the 6th term, if you're really interested in making it a business, you can then pitch, you can present it to the Atal Incubation Center. We get mentors from the industry who come and tell you what to do, what not to do, teach you, guide you. And therefore, you could leave the institute and have start your own business from day one, which is what this boy I was talking about has done, and which was a girl who is a Yagya's batchmate. She's also done the same thing. She has her own startup today, which is being incubated by the program. So imagine an MBA program where in 2 years' time, you're ready to launch your own business, if you're interested. If you're not, obviously, you can join a job. So I think that is very, very unique. And I said this was the last point. I just remembered something else, which is all the students actually get mentoring by very, very senior level industry people. So for example, the chief financial officer of Amazon, Amazon is so many 1,000 crore company. The CFO of Amazon personally mentors a few of our students, and other such people, very, very senior people from the industry, have been taken as mentors. They actually give you time, whether it's on phone or whether it's face to face, they give you time, they listen to your problems, they guide you. So I think that again is something quite unique. And the reason we are able to do this is because we are a very selective program. We don't have 500 people in a batch. We have limited people, and therefore we can pay a lot of attention to these people. So these, I think, are the unique things, the way the program was planned. And I believe this is what probably adds a lot of value to you if you decide ever to join this program. These are the factors I think you should consider.
Yes, sir, totally agree. So as we know that a lot of people are applying for competitive exams, and they also get confused that should they go for MBA or not. So before making a decision regarding MBA, what all key things should they keep in mind so that they make a good decision regarding choosing an MBA or not?
Okay. So I think, let me just see how I can address the question. So I think if one is, do you want to do an MBA? Does it make sense for you, or does it not make sense for you? Is a big question you need to answer. I can play the devil's advocate and say you don't need to do an MBA in a lot of cases, because if you build technical skills and you're adaptable, it's not everyone who wants to become a manager or wants to run a business, right? So a lot of people are doing very exciting things in the field of design, in the field of tech, in medicine, in health and wellness. So you don't really need to do an MBA. If you know the area of your interest, looking at your own strengths and weaknesses as an individual, what you like doing, what you enjoy doing, you could potentially do very well in your life, even without an MBA degree. So I think that is an important decision or a question that you need to ask yourself, that is it something I want to do, or are my interests aligned to something else? I think that's an important point. Now, if you do decide to do an MBA, okay, then of course, so many factors come into play. I think what is most important is to look at the learning value wherever you go. One of the words or terms that have become very popular among potential MBA students is this term called ROI. Okay, that I'm spending so much on my MBA, what am I getting in return? I think, yes, practically speaking, yes, it's important. And I'm sure every institute, including JKLU, will tell you what is your ROI, how much did you pay as fees, what sort of salaries did you get. But I think the more important thing is not that, because frankly speaking, ROI, the way you measure it is for a year or 2 years. You're going to work for the next 20 or 30 years. So is this MBA going to help you, or whichever program, whether it's MBA, whether it's BTech, whether it's design, whether it's a master's in sociology, how is it going to help you in your career is the more important thing. ROI beyond 2 or 3 years does not matter, right? Because you have invested. Now, if 10 years down the line, you realize that what you learned in whatever graduate program you've done, postgraduate program you've done, is still helping you, that is right, the proper ROI. Okay. If you realize that the skills that you learned in this program are helping you do well in whichever is your chosen career, I think that is more important. If you see that the reputation of the institute that you studied in, that is helping you today because it has a good network of people. Okay. And the alumni network tends to be very strong. You get a lot of opportunities through the network. Now, if all of that comes in, I think you can say that your ROI from whichever program you've done is good. So I would encourage you that, whichever program you do, whether it's MBA or non-MBA, do not look at ROI from the viewpoint of I spent X lakhs, I got a salary worth Y lakhs. That is very, very short term. It is important, but it is still short term. Beyond it, you should look at the long-term value of the program. Is it going to help you in your career? Is it going to meet your life's goals? Are you clear? A lot of us are not about what you want to do in your life. And by doing this program, do you think you will start moving ahead towards the objectives that you had in your life? I think those are the points you should look at. Does that answer the question, Yagya?
Yes, sir, totally. So I guess we can take some important questions, and I would like to